Salve people of the universe, today we're going to be talking about words and the power of words. So I'm going to start with an analogy, as it were, which is, imagine if today you were given the ability to do everything you want, basically like a genie or some kind of wizard, and everything you want you can just magically make appear, right? Now, a lot of people would say, like, okay, what's the first thing you do? Well, some people might say, I want to help my parents or my girlfriend, or this person is sick, or maybe I want to cure world hunger or something like that, right? But I don't think that's the first thing you do, right? Because it's not... The first thing you do isn't actually applying one of these wishes. The first thing you do is think about the consequences, like, what are the rules surrounding this, these wishes, right? If I'm going to ask for my dad to stop being sick, for example, is he going to end up being dead instead, for example? You know, that's what you're going to think. So I kind of like using that analogy as an example of what words can do. Because words, very much like these wishes, need to be thought about. They need to be considered for what are the consequences, what are the rules surrounding these words. You know, how do my words, can my words cause a domino effect? And this comes back to the interesting thing about ideologies and the interesting thing about the mindsets that people have. Because there's this one metaphorical analogy that people use, which is the butterfly effect, which is basically also a theory technically, but I'd like to see it more as an analogy. So, but the thing that always struck me about it is that they start always with the butterfly. But the way I see it, just like with ideologies and with anything that happens, it starts with a caterpillar. You know, it starts with something that consumes, and it consumes, and then it cocoons, and then it becomes the butterfly, right? That's the way it works. And I think that that's the same way that people work. Every single scientist has had a period in their lives where they were at their axiomatic center, I would call it, which is like, this is what they think. This will define their way of thinking in history. This will be their definition. You know, for example, for Mises, you know, the economical philosopher, I would call it. He had a period in his life where, very near to the end of his life, where he was very much seen as a good contender against the Austrian economic forum, right? And for Einstein, it would be when he had his theory of relativity come into play. We all have those moments in our lives where our ideologies and our ways of thinking just become very firmly settled. Now, so we all go through these periods, right? You consume the knowledge. You're very reckless, you consume the knowledge. Then you cocoon for a while, right? For a while you're just contemplating on your ideas. And contemplating on who am I, what do I believe in. And sure, things can still change in the future, but they are less likely to change drastically once you're already a butterfly. So when you become a butterfly, eventually, you know, that's when your ideologies start moving the world, which is like to that extent at least. So like a butterfly flaps its wings, if you talk about your ideologies, it's going to affect other people's ideologies and other people's ways of thinking as well. So the power of words is very strong. It moves society as a whole. You know, there's this communicative property to it that continues on forever, basically. And if we use those axioms to do great things, like, let's say we are going to cure world hunger, for example. Imagine if we fix that, okay? So, imagine if we can do that through words. Like, we communicate and then we come up with ideas and we apply those ideas. That's marvelous. But the opposite could also happen. What if a few people agree to fight firmly against that? You know, that's just the way that works. Some people will always be contrarian. And I think for me it's like, I'm very close to contrarian because I'm very stubborn. But I'm not contrarian entirely, because I don't just look at something and go, oh, that says one thing, I'm going to do the other. But what I do want to say is that you don't make amends unless you actually feel sorry for what you've done, you know? And I don't feel sorry for the things I'm thinking, regardless of what the butterfly effect is of my words, because I'm not responsible fully for what I say. I mean, sorry, I am responsible for what I say, but not for what the consequences are of what I say. However, that doesn't mean I can't be aware of it. So you can't be held responsible for the consequences of your words, but your words directly, that's a whole nother story. You know, like your words directly is a whole nother story. So words are very powerful. They are. So I think that basically settles it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more, or don't.